us. And today we have our esteemed guest, Mr. Travis Thom from Elevated Real Estate Marketing and Facebook Coaching. How are you today, Travis?
I'm great. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to share some great insight with Facebook marketing.
Great. So everyone, there's a live chat on the right-hand side. If you have any questions throughout this, try and hold on to them. In the last about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, we'll basically be doing a live Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything, you'll be able to drop that in there. Any other questions that you may have in the meantime, or if you guys want to chat amongst each other, if you have some friends that are on this webinar as well, please feel free to go ahead and do so on the right-hand corner. Also, if everyone can just kind of in the chat real quick, just let us know you can hear us and see us easily, and that way we'll be confirmed. Just so that you know, we will be recording this, so you'll be able to see it a little bit further down the line as well. Great. So a little bit about myself, a little bit about Travis. So why should you be listening to us? Me personally, I've been in real estate for about the last 25 years or so. Got started in 1987 as a mortgage lender and personally did a couple thousand loans. In 1997, I got online and started playing around with the internet because this looked pretty interesting. By 2000, I had taught myself how to program, built a bunch of different websites, and was generating somewhere right around 300 leads a day and working those leads personally. 2003, 2004, got out of the mortgage business, focused entirely on selling leads and basically lead conversion. And that has basically led into the product that we created, which is callaction.co. Travis, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. So I'm Travis Thom. I am the founder of Elevated REM. We are kind of a hybrid of things. We have a software as a service company that does single property websites and home valuation landing pages. And then we have our Elevated REM Facebook coaching. So we have consulting and coaching where we do a deep dive basically into building sophisticated Facebook ad campaigns for lead generation, brand awareness, building funnels, and really focusing on actual results and not just getting likes and comments. So we're excited to share with you some of the secrets today and dive into a few of those things of creating an actual funnel from top to bottom.
Right. We're going to basically be covering the front end in terms of building the initial campaign, and then going through the entire life cycle, because it's one thing to generate the leads, but then you need to get that into your CRM and then follow through the entire life cycle in terms of the initial response once you get that lead, and then that nurturing of that lead long term. So we're going to break this up into two parts. Travis is going to start at the bottom or at the front end of this, and then I will end up at the end. And then if you have any questions, we'll have the Q&A thereafter. So Travis, I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter here so that you can share your screen and start sharing those knowledge bombs on us.
All right. Let me know if we get the screen.
All right. And you should be good to go.
All right. Can you see my screen okay?
I do not see it as of yet, basically, but.
Okay. Can anyone give us a comment if they can see?
Nope.
It's a hand. No, not yet. All right. Let's try.
So Travis, you can maybe drop into the backstage, and then I think there might be a share screen button in there.
Let's see. Start sharing. I'm going to go backstage.
In the meantime, everyone, if just for a show of hands through basically the chat, how many of you are already running Facebook ads currently? Just if you can just basically say, yes, I currently am, or no, I'm not, basically. Great. Looks like most of you guys are. Awesome. So let's see here. Travis, there's a button right next to the bottom right-hand corner that says start sharing. So you see that screen, that item there? Travis? Uh-oh. Looks like we may have lost someone. So in the meantime, what I will start doing here is, Travis. There we go. All right. Looks like we're in business. Travis, We are good. We can see your screen, but we can't hear you at this point. So if you can just make sure that your mic and cameras are basically on, that'd be great. All right, friends, we're almost there. Sorry. Obviously, two tech nerds having some difficulties. All right, I think we're good to go.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Perfectly.
And we've got visual.
We got visual. Everyone's confirming. Perfect.
All right. Perfect. So essentially, with any type of Facebook ad campaign or Facebook ad funnel, we want to begin with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is we want to start to create what is our goal, right? What is the end game? Ideally, right, with most kind of real estate campaigns, our goal is to generate a closing, right? Generate some sort of lead that equals, then it turns into a buyer or a seller. But also we want to then identify what is that prospect? Who are we going after? And so we're going to touch into that in just a minute here. So today's goal, right, creating a lead ad, creating an ad with the right ad copy for the right prospect, and then targeting the right prospect, reaching your ideal buyer and engaging them in order to trigger the buyer funnel that we're going to be creating. And then a workflow, right, some sort of automated workflow process that is going to follow up via text message and voicemail.
Right.
So a brief outline of who we want to attract, right, in creating buyer personas. And so we also run a Facebook advertising agency as well as our coaching. And inside of there, we often develop these personas. And when we were running, so my background too, I was in real estate for over 15 years, running large condo townhouse developments. We would build buyer personas of who we were trying to attract. So with these personas, this helps us build out what that targeting is really going to look like. Who are we really going after, right? So begin with the end in mind, right? Who is this ideal prospect here? So this is David and Laura. They're in their mid-30s. They're first-time home buyers that are currently renting, and they plan on buying within a 12-mile radius of their current home. Now, a few things that we need to know, a few statistics here. These are all taken from the National Association of Realtors. 35% of all home buyers were first-time home buyers in 2016. And that's actually started to rise up a bit in 2017.
Right.
34%.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
sorry, Jesse?
No, I was just going to say there was definitely a big rise in terms of the millennials that everyone is anticipating that's going to kind of flood the market here pretty shortly. So there is definitely going to be a growth in that.
Exactly. There's, I mean, think almost 80 million strong, right, that are entering into the market. So we're just about to hit this next big push, this next big wave. And so that's kind of why I'm referencing today first-time home buyers. I know that some people on here may not ideally being going after first-time home buyers, they want to have to go to sellers or whatever it might be. But this should give you a little bit of information about statistics, so you can really start to actually. We look at historical data and use that data as we're building the campaigns, right? Versus just kind of guessing, well, I think I want to go after these people, right? So you need to have...
Yeah, I was just going to say, one thing that's important for everyone that's listening is really pay attention to what your local market is, because you have to think of the people that are buying in your area. So although Travis is addressing a millennial buyer in that particular area, if you're in a luxury area, then you want to build a luxury persona or whatever basically your price range is. Think of who your existing buyers are in your local area that you're going to be running this ad. So I think that this is kind of, Travis, this is what you're kind of going down, knowing exactly who you need to target basically.
Exactly. Really kind of, carving out these segments. And this is just a little bit of information, right? But this is information from the National Association of Realtors. I know Jessie and I share a lot of data back and forth of, who's buying and what are the trends and how are they engaging with certain types of technology. So use this basically as part of your playbook, right? There's some great information in there. 37 to 51, right? That age group was basically reported as having the highest household income. So something to really kind of take note there. and that 60% of those recent buyers were also married couples. And then 17%, which is really kind of a leading buyer, are single females. And then another interesting one, which is that most buyers are buying within a 12-mile radius of their previous home.
Right.
So as we start to build out our campaign, we're going to open up lead generation, right? This is where you're going to be able to build a lead ad.
Travis, a couple of people are mentioning that they can't hear the audio. Can you just confirm that you have your audio on? I can hear you fine, but I just want to make sure that everybody else can hear you as well, basically.
Double check.
I think in that top right-hand corner. Oh, okay. Some people are saying they can hear fine. So, all right. Looks like we're good. So most people, it sounds like we're okay here. All right. We're good. Sorry about that. Thank you.
No worries. So we're going to start to build out our top of funnel. So when we build out funnels, we label them tofu, mofu, and bofu, right? Some of my favorite terms there. We're actually getting a t-shirt made that says "You're in the middle of my funnel" coming up pretty soon. So tofu, and we're labeling this your first-time buyer leads, and Denver, the actual market area. So we're using the proper naming conventions, so we actually have that kind of labeled out, right? So we know what's going on. Locations, we want to target people who live in this location. So we're gonna target the Denver area as our primary example here, and we're gonna choose the radius, based on that data. We're gonna start to go around like a 12 to 13 mile radius to start with to see. So we have about 1.6 million people in here. Now the ages, right? We're gonna give some sort of kind of buffer with the first-time home buyer possible ages there. We're gonna shoot for around 29 to 48 here, and then we have about 670,000 people now in this audience. Now with detailed targeting, I like to really have basically 2 to 3 different layers here. We don't want to make it too complicated, but we are going to use likely to move. We're going to use people that have interacted with Zillow, that have recently visited Realtor.com. We're doing this because Facebook aggregates this data based on what you're doing through your Facebook Messenger, your conversations, right? Your web browser habits, your emails, your actual geolocation, what you're doing, and things that you've read or are interested in, right? All this data is getting aggregated.
That famous like button that's sitting on basically everybody's website. So every time that you hit a like, then you're building your own persona, and that's how Facebook starts to identify these people and the pixel data that all of these sites are running as well.
Exactly, and as you visit those sites, they have pixels on them. It's consuming that data, and you're talking to friends, right? You're making comments. You're actually visiting other blogs about first-time home buying and reading these certain things and having conversations. This is all data that's being aggregated and pushed into then these optimal choices here for us to really start to laser in on exactly who these people are. So we've got Colorado first-time home buyer grant, Realtor.com, Zillow, right? So we're also saying that they must match that they're renters and that they're interested in buying a house and house hunting. And now I'm going to exclude people that are homeowners, right? Because I'm just going to go after first-time home buyers for this example here. And we're also going to exclude people that are recent mortgage borrowers and recent home buyers. So we don't want to waste any ad spend on those people that have already bought a home. And if we want this to be hyper relevant, right? So it might be annoying to those people. They would say, hide this ad, which would impact your negative score. I'm going to bump it up just a little bit here to get a little bit of a wider range. I'm going to add about 10,000 people or so. So let's see, 81,000 is kind of what we're going to end up on with this.
And one thing that I noticed on there, you kind of narrowed that audience. You continue to narrow it deeper and deeper and deeper so that it's super focused, not just adding everything in terms of likes at the top, but you also use the narrow function as kind of the qualifier to take that initial group and make it a little bit smaller, correct?
Exactly, yeah. And you don't have to get so lasered in to where there's not going to be an optimal choice there, but just enough. So with placements here, I'm focusing on mobile because I know that's where Facebook is really serving a great majority of all the ads. And for this type of budget, I'm going to do $10 a day. for the size of audience. The rule of thumb is about $10 per 100,000 kind of in your audience, give or take.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to accomplish with this here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the ad name, we're going to call this free list of homes. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a carousel ad for the first time home buyers, right? So, and the reason why I'm choosing a carousel ad is because carousel ad gets a really high preference right now as far as an ad placement. And so it's feeding, basically higher up in the newsfeed. And it has a higher click-through rate because it's kind of a thumb stopper. There's multiple photos, right? Multiple image, multiple. So the more images, the more photos in the carousel ad, the more opportunity there is for engagement. So with some of the ad copy here, I'm going to put the magic word free, which really, draws in basically the people that are identifying with something that's free. And then I'm going to choose the ad copy to be something more priced, homes priced under $299,000 because we're going after first-time home buyers. So we're looking at the market, and depending on your market, right? Your market might have first-time home buyers under, 500,000. Just be aware of some of that market data. And then I'm going to reference that it's perfect for first-time home buyers. So I'm saying the actual word first-time buyers because that hyper relevancy of me actually having those words in there and the ad targeting is going to make this ad super relevant. So it's actually going to improve and really ride on the Facebook algorithm. So we're kind of optimizing it right there in the actual ad copy and getting it ready. Then I'm also kind of dropping a hint there. Some of these homes may even qualify for special financing programs because we're targeting first-time home buyer grant, first-time home Colorado first-time home buyer grant program. And all of that. So headline, you want to be able to tell them to take some sort of action, right? Take specific action. Click here, right, to view the homes. And we typically use for the actual call to action button, the download. And the reason we do that is the download, it has more of a psychological aspect of they feel like that's the immediacy, right? It's almost a subconscious type of optimization in copywriting. You see the word download, you think, well, it's going to be instant. I'm going to get access to it.
I'm going to get it right
there. I'm going to exactly. And then reference in the copy, right? Download the list now, right? Telling them again to take specific action. So, and I'm also going to write in here in Denver because you want to name the location of the area you're targeting once again to make it hyper relevant. We've tested this out where we've had the name in there and we haven't had the name in there. The ones that don't have the name have a lower relevance score. So you want, and a relevance score is how relevant the ad is with the individuals in the targeted audience and how well they're responding to it. So a higher click-through rate equals a higher relevance score, but also having a highly targeted audience and then using some of those keywords of like the actual area, right? So if you're targeting San Francisco, you want to say, see all the homes for sale in San Francisco, right?
So going on the classic, right message to the right person at the right time. So the right time is them scrolling through basically their Facebook feed and then seeing the messaging that says, hey, are you a first-time home buyer or thinking about buying in Denver? We know that they're in Denver, so they're already the right person. So if you target the right person, feed it to them in the newsletter and do basically the right ad that is talking to that person, that's what's going to increase basically your click-through rate and overall your lead conversion. So awesome.
Exactly. And then your lead ad form. So here you want to identify your lead ad form with the proper title of what you're targeting. So this is going to be your top of funnel. So you want to name it your top of funnel.
Or
and
tofu.
Reference or tofu. I like that. The tofu, mofu, bofu. Can't forget the acronyms there. So I like to get instant access to the photos, prices, and more because statistically, right, Jesse, everyone wants to see photos, right?
Correct.
They want to see.
There was a NAR study that showed that was the number one thing that people are looking for is more photos, basically. And then behind that was, property details. And interestingly enough, like third or fourth was actually floor plans because they want to understand that particular space. And
Right.
floor plans was actually above 3D tours and everything else, which is kind of interesting as well. So.
That is interesting. Yeah. So historical data, referencing those things and using that as your advantage to really leverage to optimize conversion rates. So once again, we're referencing here this your little mini landing page that you're saying homes are starting at 299,000. Right. So we're telling them what is behind it. So it's not a black box, right? So they
Right.
know exactly like what is the benefit here, what's going to happen on the other side. So perfect for first-time home buyers, right? Referencing them again. So we're tapping into that psychology. And then some homes may qualify for special financing. So we're going to use the word show me the homes for the call to action here because
Right.
using the personalization of show me, right? That's your inner
Right.
voice. We've got a higher click-through rate of saying show me the homes.
Right. Okay.
Now,
And
for
this is
the
that landing page is kind of what you're seeing when you're using the Facebook lead ad. You're bypassing the need to create a landing page somewhere. You're basically, this acts as the mini landing page. By them clicking on that button, you're collecting automatically all of the information about that consumer from their Facebook profile. Is that right, Travis?
Exactly. It auto-populates, right? It just
Okay.
pulls that data instantly in. So
Okay.
one of the things that you want to have is your IDX page ready to go and have that hyperlink set up, right? So
Okay.
so we're going to send them here to homes that are priced under 299,000, right? We're going to send them to the right location. So we have our welcome screen here, right? After they click on the ad, then they fill out the information. They don't fill it out, it actually pulls and auto-populates, and then they click
Mm-hmm.
there, and then they're ready to go.
And can you elaborate a little bit more on that Facebook lead ad, why it's kind of converting? Is it because we're not asking them to fill out information? They're just automatically clicking that button, much like the Facebook login. It's just sharing that information. So by eliminating the friction of filling out the form, you can dramatically increase your lead conversion and that way get your lead cost way down, right? Is that kind of the
Yes.
byproduct of this basically? Okay.
It's so insanely easy, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just basically them clicking on a button, right? And it's fast. It's lightning fast because it's a Facebook asset, right? It's a digital asset inside of the platform.
Right.
So being so fast, there's less friction. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to type
Mm-hmm.
anything. And your standard landing page should convert at 20%, industry standard. 20% is the conversion rate for most landing pages.
Okay.
Facebook lead ad forms, we're seeing that 20 all the way to like 50%. So,
Oh, okay.
depending on the type of audience. So you're serving this to a cold audience. So depending
Mm-hmm.
on ad copy and your targeting, you should see
Mm-hmm.
a really high conversion rate at a lower cost.
And also the lead ad is already mobile friendly. And because they don't feel like they're leaving Facebook at that moment where they're giving up the information, where you as the advertiser are capturing that data, the experience is much more cohesive because they're still on Facebook on the mobile device. And it's only
Right.
after they click the button do they end up on the website and directly to the information that they were looking for.
And
Right.
you really want to make sure that you're sending them to a website that is built for mobile, because if
Okay.
you break that experience,
Mm-hmm.
then you've broken trust, and then you kind of break the engagement, right? That opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
convert them.
Okay.
So after we create this lead ad form, then we're going to go into audiences. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where then we're going to build just one of our retargeting stacks. So we're going to create custom audience here, and
Okay.
then we're going to go to engagement, and we're going to choose lead ad form. And then inside here, this is where we're going to build our custom audience. So I'm going to choose one of my pages here, and then the form that we were using. So we have first time homebuyer Denver, and you can add multiple forms here depending on what kind of campaign you're building. But I'm going to say anybody that's engaged with this form, we have 90 days to target them, but I'm going to say in the past
Mm-hmm.
15 days. And then I'm going to go ahead and just name this audience. This is going to be our MOFU, right? Our middle of the
Right.
funnel. And this is going to be first time home buyers, basically days 1 through 15. Now, I'm not going to create a lot of these retargeting stacks. as you can see, I have retargeting stacks here for a seller funnel kind of in behind here that goes on for like, basically 50 different days. And that's kind of a different webinar that we would go into. But this is
Right.
showing you that after you have captured anybody that's engaged with this, then we're going to create a reach campaign. And in this reach campaign, we're then going to build out a retargeting ad that
Okay.
is going to basically, like right after they visit this website, it should be within the first hour that they will start to see an ad from you about open houses that are coming up for this week.
Okay.
So
So catching them in that frame of mind and always staying right there because you've already piqued their curiosity, have them in that frame of mind, and now you want to keep pushing them down the funnel to try and eventually maybe get to a call or to contact you directly.
Exactly. And this is a really short funnel that we're going to be showing you guys. If we were to do a full retargeting stack here, it probably might be like a 2-hour webinar. So we're only going to keep it down to days 1 through 15.
Right.
But here,
or they can sign up for your coaching.
Or they can sign up for my coaching. And we have hundreds of different items for you to watch. And so I would exclude an audience of 180 days from anyone that's engaged with my website to have it as a true evergreen funnel. But I'm changing this here to a daily budget of 3 because I'm going to base it on reach. That we're going to serve your ads to the maximum number of people, meaning we're going to hit everybody in this audience. So I'm going to change the frequency cap to basically saying 1 impression every 2 days during that precious time of like the 14 days, right? Most home buyers choose their agent within the first 2 to 3 weeks of shopping for homes, but sometimes the agent doesn't even know that, right? So that's part of the secret sauce is that we want to keep in front of them and keep them highly engaged and say, hey, there's open houses coming up. You need to come back to our website and check out all the open houses that are coming up. So I already have some ad copy here. Open houses, check out all the open houses that are coming up this week. Get a list of all the homes in Denver that are having an open house. Don't miss out, right? Some urgency there that's going to be created. And so here, the link that you would use is you would just send them to a segmented part of your IDX that says open houses, so that's kind of evergreen, right? Those open houses. If your IDX is pretty smart, most of them are advanced enough today that where you can just have it's always updating the next open houses that are coming up, and that way it's evergreen. So whether John or Susie enter the funnel tomorrow, or you have David and Laura or whoever else 7 months later, they are then going to see that same ad with the same same open houses, and this is a short funnel, so people are going to be spit out of those 15 days. So there's not going to be any ad fatigue, and they're going to see this ad consistently over time, keeping in front of them with your brand and keeping them going and moving forward.
And just to be clear, everyone, what you just need to do in order to set up that is go to your own website, perform the search for basically open houses. And in that top navigation bar, you're going to have a URL or a web link. You're going to copy that link, and that's the link that you use in the ad so that when they click access the ad, it takes them straight to that URL that has that search preformed. So that's what we mean by clarifying or creating that landing page is just by searching that on your own IDX website. So it's important that you have that available. Okay.
Exactly.
Great.
All right. So that is our first half of the funnel. So I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to you, Jesse.
Great. So definitely appreciate that. So at this point, what we've done is we've created ads, we've captured contact information from consumers, and now you're staying in front of that consumer, trying to become omnipresent in front of their lives during the whole time that they're thinking about buying or selling, because we've identified who that person is. Now, ideally, what's going to end up happening is that lead information is going to end up into your CRM, and then either you or an ISA or an assistant or a team member will start following up with those leads almost instantaneously. And what we know is basically NAR data shows that it's critical that when you get that inquiry, that you immediately respond. And as what Travis alluded to earlier, the vast majority of the people, according to NAR, are going to work with the first customer or the first agent that delivers kind of the best level of service to them right from the very beginning. So I am going to switch out my screen here. Give me 1 second.
And that's one of the reasons why we choose mobile, right? Is actually
Right.
is because you have to think about the buyer's journey is that they're on their mobile phone, right? They're going
Mhm.
through Facebook, they see the ad, they click on the carousel ad for the homes, they end up on your IDX, right, property search, and then
Mhm.
they get a text message, right
Right.
away. So it's hyper present, right? It's all right there contained with that experience. And then if
Mhm.
they do get off, same thing, then maybe an hour later or sooner, then the open
Right.
house ad starts to roll up, and it creates that hyper relevancy. It's all there, and they're starting to be really
Mhm.
kind of then feed into the funnel.
So we'll talk about, the difference between the two, because a lot of you that might be watching this particular webinar right now, you're struggling a little bit with that lead conversion. And some of you may be a little bit cynical in terms of these online leads that you're generating. So you should be able to see my screen at this point. And Travis, if you can just kind of confirm in the chat, make sure that everyone can see this, is um, in a referral type lead, a person has asked another person, do you know of a good agent? Okay, so their intent is that they're specifically looking for somebody else. That's why referrals are so powerful. Also, the trust of the person that they're asking that referral from is transferred over to you when they refer you over to that person. Now, in an online lead, you have to earn trust. And you earn that trust through basically your actions, because they don't know who you are. All they're doing is primarily trying to accomplish a task. If you look at the ads that Travis had mentioned about, whether it's, find homes that are $300,000 or lower, or basically look at open houses, you'll notice that neither one of those is identifying that, like, I'm going to be your realtor. All we're trying to do is we're trying to identify who that person is, so that way you can now take the opportunity to try and earn their trust by building rapport, by being responsive, and by basically showing your local market knowledge. So as we kind of talked about, the vast majority of consumers are online, so you need to be doing this kind of advertising. Travis, it's what, like 3 billion people, or 2 billion people, I think, is the most recent one I saw, that are on Facebook. So it's like
Right.
over a third of the entire world's population. In the US, it's probably about 70% of people are actually on Facebook. So it's one of the best destinations, the most cost-effective ways to be top of mind with basically buyers and sellers. Some of the other interesting facts that you'll see in here is that about 72% of people are using their mobile device during the home search process. And it's what, 90% of Facebook access is based on mobile? Is that what it is, Travis? 90,
Right.
95, somewhere right around there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really, really big on mobile.
Okay. And you'll notice that Travis talked about doing an open house ad. What we know is about 50% of home buyers are actually actively going to go and look at open houses. And when you get them there, they're basically bottom of the funnel. NER tells us that when a consumer gets to that point and physically is jumping into their car and driving and looking at properties, they're probably going to look at somewhere between 10 properties over the next 10 weeks and end up writing an offer. And this is why it's so important to be hyper responsive at that moment in time. Obviously, everyone knows mobile is massive at this point, so I'll kind of glaze through some of these things. What you'll notice here is what we talked about, this real estate search process. So there's this aspirational part before they're making inquiries. This is where they're on Zillow and all of the different websites and taking a look at interesting properties, learning about areas, talking about friends and family. And then eventually, once they're kind of convincing themselves that they're ready to purchase, they start researching things like that Colorado home grant that Travis alluded to a little bit earlier. So that's why it's important to maybe reference in some of that targeting things that relate to some mortgage processes, because that basically means that consumer has gone out and already gotten pre-qualified. As they get closer to the bottom of the funnel and maybe start clicking on ads like what Travis has designed earlier of actually looking at homes, they start to drop into this transactional phase. And this is where they're going to start to convert here pretty soon. This is just basically some information based on where they're accessing the information. And because the vast majority of the time they're on Facebook, this is where the ad source is at, you'll see that if they're on mobile, their research process is really short and in the moment. So it's really kind of driven by the gut. It's a reaction, and it needs to be immediate because the mobile device just gives us 24/7 access to information. And so you'll see how that kind of goes down. And if they are really interested, there's a much higher likelihood that they'll pick up the phone and just basically call rather than try and fill out a form, which is the reason why the Facebook lead ad is so powerful, because they never see the form. They just click the button that says download, and then they get that temporary landing page that says show me the homes. And once they click on that, that's when you obtain the information. So really powerful. So again, why do you need to respond quickly to all of these leads as they're coming in? This data is from KW and also from the California Association of Realtors. And you can see that most of your competition, they're not responding to these leads when they're coming in. And this is why basically some people are having difficulty with converting online leads, is that they're just not following up with them or never ever taking that response or acting out in terms of following up with that lead. And this is a big problem. Once you start responding, then instantly those people are going to tend to work with the first agent who's going to respond that delivers the highest level of service. Now, these consumers, what they're expecting is an instant answer within minutes, less than 5 minutes ideally, but the reality is the sooner the better for you to reach out and contact those individuals. And what you can see here is our ideal time, but this is research data that shows you what the average agents are doing or responding in based on, again, a Keller Williams study. The average person is taking over an hour and 45 minutes to respond to a lead inquiry. And if it's an email lead, it's 6 hours later. Now, I want you to think about that. How many of you watching this webinar right now would wait 6 hours for a response from anybody? Probably not very much. In fact, if you are working with basically a buyer and that buyer is pretty interested, you probably have your lender number one and your lender number two. And lender number one is the guy or the gal that you really like to work with. And you'll call that person, and if they don't answer, because you have a high sense of urgency and you're trying to accomplish a task of getting that buyer pre-qualified right away, you'll hang up the phone, never even leave a message, and call your lender number two. The consumers are doing the same exact thing because they have zero relationship with you. So it's really critical for you to understand that consumers are trying to accomplish a task when they're making these inquiries or responding to these ads. And that task is usually to see homes, and that's why it's critical for you to basically respond very quickly.
In that experience, right, of having the phone right directly in their hand. And
exactly.
We've talked to agents that say, so you're getting leads, you're at 300 leads, what's going on? Well, I called the leads the next day, or I called the leads an hour later. And what do they say? Well, they said, who are you and why are you? Right?
Why are you calling me?
Why are you calling me? But when it's done within that 5 minute range, it's so hyper relevant. It's right there. Otherwise, they're going to move on throughout their day. And their day is like busy like everyone's else. It's just, you need to be in that moment. So it's critical.
Right. And keep in mind that, that person has been looking for 12 to 18 months. So they may have filled out an inquiry today, but they may have a call from an agent that they inquired with 3 months ago or 4 months ago. Right. So that's why they're getting multiple touch points from different agents. And your ability to stand out is going to be based on your response time. Here's a little bit of data that was shown from the California Association of Realtors. In fact, that 94% of people that make an inquiry expect an instant response. Now think about yourself. Do you fall in that category when you make an inquiry to any kind of business? Do you expect an instant response? And what do? Do you hang up the phone and call the next person if you get a voicemail or if you get an IVR? So it's critical for you to be in the moment. What you can see here at the bottom is 49% expect an instant, but less than 18% of agents acknowledge that they respond in that certain amount of time. So this space here in between the two, that gap, is your opportunity, because NAR, again, has done a study, and the average consumer only interviews 1.7 real estate agents. So the first agent to respond, deliver a high level of service, be professional, be knowledgeable, seem trustworthy, and able to build rapport is the agent they're going to end up working with. Some other information that you can kind of see here is the difference, even in just a few minutes, on your lead conversion, right? Within 1 minute, there's a 400% increase in lead conversion if you contact someone within that short amount of time, and you'll be able to reach about 40% of the people. And then there's a steep, steep decline in that lead conversion. So it's important for you to have systems in place to be able to follow up with those leads, and that's kind of what we're going to be covering here very shortly. And again, mobile has changed the behavior, the way that we search. Those of you that have had internet access for years now, you may remember 10 years ago, what was your internet search experience? You probably, didn't look at TV, you went into your home office, you accessed your computer, and you sat behind this big monitor at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night instead of watching TV. And it made sense to fill out forms that time because they know they wouldn't be able to get a hold of anybody. And then hours later, they know the next day I'm going to fill out this inquiry, and then the next morning, hopefully I'll get a response. But today, a lot of the companies are still trying to push forms as the way to basically generate leads. And if you think about the mobile device, what it's allowed us to do is have instant access throughout the day to make inquiries. And on the phone, are you going to take the time to fill out a form? Or if there's a big giant call button, are you just going to call or do a frictionless lead experience as that Facebook lead ad is, where they don't fill out anything? They press a couple buttons and they get the information that they're looking for. Very, very, very powerful. So again, what are the top reasons why consumers are picking the agent that they work with? And it's really important for you to take a look at this data here, because it's really going to drive home the point. You can see here that they previously used the agent about 30% of the time. Now, if they're a first-time home buyer, this is pretty much eliminated. You're going to have maybe referrals and things like that. They're going to represent 20 or 30% of the market historically. But if you take a look at the main qualities that the consumer is looking for, first person to respond, most responsive, and most aggressive can be kind of lumped into, the best follow-up with that, or with you, basically. The consumer is the one that you're going to end up working with. When you total all of this, it ends up being 50 or 60% of the consumer's decision is based solely on basically your responsiveness. Very, very, very important part of what we're kind of talking about here. So in order to win, when you're generating online leads, you need to have systems or automation or assistance to be able to respond instantly. And then when you do make contact, be sure to take your time and have long, meaningful conversations with those individuals, because that's what's going to build rapport and trust. Don't just hang up the phone and tell them to meet you at the property. Interview that customer ahead of time, because that's what's going to lead into your lead conversion. And I personally experienced this working thousands of online leads on the mortgage side of things. And I know firsthand that that basically works. This long, meaningful conversation is going to be extremely, extremely important. And obviously, you need to be empathetic to their needs and actively listen to what their needs are. Because the number one complaint that consumers have about agents is that they're not listening. They're just throwing properties at me that don't match the criteria that I'm really looking for. And now that's the reason why the vast majority of agents or consumers are finding their own home online. So be
Right.
sure to actively listen and really key into what they're saying is the type of home that they're looking for, the style and all of the details, because the more that you can share properties that match their exact criteria, the more that they're going to trust you.
And Jesse,
So,
here's kind of a quick saying that I think people
mhm,
should kind of keep in mind as they're building their Facebook ads and the full automation campaign in today's online on buyer, because they're savvy, they're smart, is that most
mhm,
buyers today disqualify you before you can even qualify them. Right.
exactly.
So they're hyper aware of who you are and the properties that they want to see. And
Mhm,
so they have the advantage of disqualifying you before you can even actually meet them and know who they are. So during that 3 week, 4 week time, that right, the most
mhm,
precious stretch where you're going to keep in front of them is your opportunity to send out the text messages, the voicemail drops, keep those retargeting ads fresh in front of them.
mhm.
Because otherwise, they may already said, you know what, this person isn't for me, or they never followed up, right? And
Right.
they're moving on their journey.
Right. One of the smartest people in the industry, Brian Borio, once 1000 Watt once said the
Yeah.
reason why there's 50 million leads out there, it's because there's 45 million agents that didn't follow up with those leads that they got. Because at the end of the
True.
day, there's only 5 million sales. So you have to think that every lead that is available today is most likely because some other agent didn't follow up and build trust and build rapport and do all of those kind of things. So what we're going to kind of drop into is now we've generated the lead. So what's the pain points that we want to try and accomplish here for you? We need to get those leads into your CRM because you need to be able to follow up with that person. So what you'll see here on my screen is basically our Facebook lead ad integration. You can automate this entire process of these leads that are being generated and have those dumped into your follow-up boss, your top producer, your boomtown, any of those sources by using a couple pieces of software. The first one that you're going to want to use is either going to be a Zapier integration or basically LeadsBridge. We basically talk about using Zapier because Zapier gives you a lot more access to a bunch of other types of software. And you can combine this with basically a call action that is going to help you with the instant response to all of those leads, because we don't expect you to always be instantly available. You should never feel like you're a slave to your phone as long as you have the correct systems and automations in place to do the follow-up for you and start that engagement for you. So here what you can see is what a Zapier lead ad would look like. We provided very, very simple instructions. This is on our website on help.callaction.co. And if you just do basically a Facebook lead ad integration search, you'll find this exact page. And you could do this using our software or not, but these are the detailed instructions on how to do it. First, you'll need obviously a Zapier account, and you're going to need to pay for a premium account, so at least a $20 a month account. What that does, it gives you access to this Facebook lead ad unit. So as those leads are being generated by Facebook, the data is saved on the Facebook server. And so what you need to do, or what Zapier will do, is it's going to go and get that information, extract that information from Facebook, and basically push that out into your other systems. So in this case, we'll show you what it looks like by using call action as part of this. So you're going to create the connection to that Facebook lead ad, and you're going to connect it to your account, and then specifically to that lead ad form, as Travis alluded to. What did you call it? The tofu lead ad, basically, or the Denver
Right.
tofu lead ad?
Yeah. Your tofu.
So exactly. So you would select that form to extract the data. Then you would connect that lead information really simply, create a new email, which will look something like this. And you're going to create an email body that can send out that lead information to whatever source that you want to use. In this case, what we would suggest is sending it into call action so that we can begin the rest of the automation, which I'll show you here in a second. So with call action, what will end up happening is you have some phone numbers where every phone number comes with a dedicated email address. We take that email with the Facebook lead ad information and send it into your call action account. Call action will create a contact profile, extract all the information, and then push that information into your CRM all through automation. Thereafter, what we'll do is we'll automatically begin to engage that lead through text messaging instantly. So at this point, you still haven't done anything. You've captured the lead through the Facebook lead ad. You've imported that into your CRM. We've basically created a profile of who that person is. And now we're going to turn back around and send out a text message to that person in less than a minute and a half to dramatically increase that lead conversion. And so this is the back end of a call action account. I'll just show you my personal account here. And where we set that information up is here in these email settings. What you're going to do is simply email a copy of that Facebook lead ad from Zapier and forward it to your dedicated email address. And then we're going to send out this text message here, which could be, I'll use one of our customers here, Matt from Great Las Vegas Homes. What you would see here is that text message would be instantly sent to that customer to begin that engagement. And if they're ready to engage with you, they'll instantly respond, typically about 60 to 70% of the time. And now basically you're working with that customer. And this is where you begin to actively listen and talk to that customer over time, basically, and develop that relationship and ideally go and show them some homes. Now, one of the reasons we were holding this today is that we're getting ready to launch a brand new product that not only does this initial interaction, but basically does your entire long-term follow-up of all of your leads that are basically coming in. And I'll show you, this is a new product that we're launching in the next couple of weeks, and it's basically called our drip campaigns. And you're able to build a fully customized drip campaign that is multi-touch, that includes a bunch of different campaigns. So to continue on here, I'm going to build a live campaign on call action. You guys will be able to test it. And this will complete that entire life cycle from generating the lead on Facebook using Travis's techniques into Zapier, getting that into your CRM, and now basically doing the long-term follow-up with that particular customer. So what you can see here is a brand new drip campaign. We're going to call this our Facebook Lead Ads Tofu Denver to stay in the trend of basically what is happening or what we've been kind of talking about here with Travis. And what we're going to do is we want to follow up with that lead almost instantaneously. So we're going to pick a delay of, let's say, a minute or so, because we want to make it look natural, like it's actually coming from you and not just some automation. This needs to seem very personal. So you'll see here some different types of text messages that we can send out. We can send an audio text, an image text, a plain text, a reminder text that goes back to you to follow up with that particular lead, a V-card, a video text, and this is like a native video text or an MMS text, and you can also deliver a voice message where call action will call that person back and leave a message on their voicemail. So in this case, we're going to start off with just a very simple plain text message, and I'm going to build a campaign for you guys. So I've already prepared the message here, and what we're going to do is we have basically created a new message that's going to say, thanks for attending today's webinar, advanced training, and we're providing links to basically Travis's coaching and to our product here. So at the end of this, we'll have you guys go ahead and demo this in person, and you'll actually get these links to these special offers that we're kind of talking about. Now, what I'm going to want to do in here is I have that first step. We're going to add a second step in the follow-up process. And we're going to say we're going to wait approximately 15 minutes at this point from that first text message to do a follow-up offer. And in this case, what we're going to provide to you is a secondary text message And we at Call Action, since this is brand new and we're going to be launching this in the upcoming months, we're doing a special offer for you where if you sign up today or before the 21st, you'll be able to get this new drip campaign software for 50% off, which is going to save you about $600 per year. So what you can see here now is 16 minutes after we receive the lead from the consumer or from the Facebook lead ad, we've now touched base with that person 2 times, all through automation. If the person responds to any one of these messages, goes directly to you, and you just pick up the conversation from there. And then we're going to do a short step here. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait 1 day. And I'm going to do this message at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going to schedule this to go out, and I'm going to send a voice message. So those of you that want to see a live demo of this, you can see here I can pick my audio file. I've pre-recorded a voice message to be sent out that's going to be called a webinar message. I select this message, and now tomorrow at 10 a.m., you'll basically get a phone call from us or from me that's going to leave a voicemail on your machine saying, hey, this is Jessie. Just want to follow up, say thank you for attending our webinar. And, please feel free to go ahead and talk to Travis or me with any questions that you may have. And now you've built up an entire follow-up campaign to go out to all of your leads. You can run this as long as you basically want, and it will automatically follow up with all of your Facebook leads that you got. So we solve the problem of the initial follow-up of being responsive instantly over the long term of that loan or that lead, because we know up front there's only a small percentage of people that will basically respond. You saw from those studies about 40 to 50%. But as you increase those touches, your lead conversion starts to go up as well as those people start to respond back to you. So I'll show you here how we can basically attach that brand new drip campaign that we built to basically a phone number. So I'm going to go to my call action phone number, 415-360-111. I simply go here into manage. And here I'm going to assign my brand new Facebook lead ad, the Tofu Denver lead ad. So I go here to the bottom and hit save. And now basically that campaign is assigned to this particular phone number or to this email where you would be sending those lead ads to. So any of you that want to get a firsthand experience and see exactly how this basically works, if you call this number now, you don't even have to leave a message or anything. Couple rings, hang up, and Call Action will start that automated drip campaign that you just basically saw, those 3 steps. And that would be the 3 steps of follow-up that you can go ahead and do on all of your Facebook lead campaigns. So this covers the entire life cycle from beginning to end of basically your leads. So with that said, let me close this off. Again, 415-360-1111. If you kind of want to see that firsthand and experience that firsthand, you'll be able to experience that directly. So let me go ahead and close out some screens here. And what we're going to do...
Sorry, go ahead, Jessie.
I was just going to say, we're going to take some Q&As right now. Is that okay with you, Travis? We've got a few minutes, 5-10 minutes for some Q&As. Ask any questions directly in chat. And basically, we'll go from there. All right. Travis, any kind of closing statements on this?
So we have to consider the full funnel approach, right? So we have you're targeting a cold audience, cold meaning they've never engaged with you before, and then you are now generating those leads and you're sending them to your website, and then you're kicking off your middle of the funnel. Your conversion rate increases as you have retargeting brand awareness ads that are going over the life cycle, right? So let's say 2 months, 3 months, whatever that might be. So there's multiple different ads that are running to those people, and then they're receiving maybe, let's say you have an email campaign going out, right, from your CRM, and then you have a text message going out, voicemail drop. All those together, statistically, there's a study done by an e-commerce research company that said all those combined increased the conversion rate up to 174%. So that's significantly really high. Now, when you think about, I mean, that study was done on people selling, e-commerce, necklaces, shoes, sweaters, right? Those things bought online. If you package that into real estate, where your ROI, right? Your return on investment is, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 properties or more, and you're running these systems, you're working with consumers that need have a longer decision cycle, so they need to be nurtured. Right? They need to go through that indoctrination, pre-framing process to really understand of who you are, what you do, what you have to offer, and going through that process of going, oh wow, this agent is everywhere, and they're serving up all these things. And so the acronym that we use when we build our funnels, we created a methodology called BURST. So brand, story, brand introduction, reciprocity, untapped opportunities, social proof, and trust. Those are the ingredients, right, that you need in your funnel. So the open house one, it doesn't have to be in that order, but the open house one is really one of the untapped opportunities, kind of going, hey, open houses, right? You're bringing them back into that process. So just kind of keep that in mind. This whole holistic approach of that type of campaign. Some of you, I bet, are in someone's middle of the funnel right now. You're in someone's MOFU. So you need to kind of take that into consideration.
And I think, as you said, we talk about being omnipresent in that person's life. Where a lot of people make a mistake is if they got a phone call, all they do is they only call back and they don't try these different touch points. If you think of large brands, what they're trying to do is be everywhere in your life. They're trying to be omnipresent. So you want to be in their email. So by having these kinds of automation that creates that lead into your CRM, you want your CRM sending out normal emails and market updates and important information. So now you're in their email channel. You want text messages to go out from basically your automated systems to stay top of mind and to make it easy for that customer to respond back to you and to get that conversation flowing. You want to stay in front of their Facebook because they're there, living 20, 30 minutes a day of their time, basically? Or is it even longer than that nowadays, Travis? I don't even know anymore.
Statistically, with the millennial generation is sometimes 3 to 4 hours a day that they're on Facebook, and most users on average are around hovering almost around 2 hours a day on Facebook. Yeah.
So basically, if we think about that, they're spending more time on Facebook than they are watching TV, and so you can get the same kind of branding in front of that person that has already raised their hand with you by staying in front of them and running these kinds of ads during that next lifestyle. How long do you suggest that they should continuously retarget those customers that have made that initial inquiry?
Ideally, I would run that for the entire life cycle of the retargeted audience. So Facebook lead ads give you 90 days to retarget that custom audience. So 3 months, and depends if it's a buyer or a seller. If it's a seller, right, then you want to maybe shoot for something like 6 months, and that's where you want to have more of a diverse, advanced type of campaign. But for like buyers, typically 3 months, and then you would really keep that stretch. However, your ads, to make sure they don't reach ad fatigue, you need to then do more advanced ad targeting of include, exclude kind of audiences and building retargeting stacks. That's definitely an advanced strategy that we do in our agency, or that we teach some of our coaching clients how to build those advanced funnels. I see Robert asked a question here. How much would you expect to spend on Facebook ads weekly? Well, we suggest, so your funnel ad spend, 80% of your ad spend is going to be at the top of the funnel, right? Your tofu, driving traffic to the top of it to really get people to pour into the custom audiences into your retargeting stacks. And you're going to spend about 20 to 30% of your budget on the middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel. So, $2 to $3 a day. And let's say you have, anywhere from 4 to 9 different ads in the middle of the funnel, you're probably going to spend monthly. You could have success with a $300 to $500 budget in ad spend a month. We have clients right now that are generating, over 100 leads a month, and having a full funnel with only $400 a month. So
that taps into what we call this cost per lead, right? On Facebook. Some of you might be Zillow advertisers, and what you'll find on Zillow is that average cost per inquiry or cost per lead is going to be somewhere between $50 to as high as $200 for someone to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm interested in seeing a home. Versus on Facebook, if you're doing these kind of techniques that basically Travis is teaching here, what's the cost of those leads on average per individual leads that you can generate?
For buyer leads, we've seen anywhere from 50 cents at the lowest that we've seen, all the way to $3 to $4. But on average, we're looking at probably around $3 per lead on average. Elena, for a buyer, for a seller, it's a little more elusive, right? That's kind of like the magical
Holy Grail
snow cat, right? Up in the mountain.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that once, every fortnight. That's going to be around anywhere from $7 to $14 per seller lead. Okay. But of course, seller leads are precious, and typically with those seller leads, right? Hopefully you get a listing and you generate then another listing and another buyer from that. It's kind of a seed. Elena, I see you have a question here. So yes, you can retarget people that have interacted with your Facebook lead ad form. So in the beginning of the webinar, we showed here, when you're creating your custom audience, people that interacted with your Facebook lead ad form, you then create a custom audience of a certain amount of days, and you label it as your middle of funnel. And you're going to be basically targeting just people that have opened up your form, or people that have opened up your form and filled out the lead ad form. We want to choose the greater most often, being the greater sum. So people who opened up the lead ad form, and then that also includes people that opened it up and filled it out. So that way, if you have a high click-through rate, you've had 385 people click, open it and go to it, then maybe out of those, the people that actually open up the ad form, then you might have, let's say, 215 of them, and then you might have, let's say, 75 of them that are actual leads. Well, you're going to target, right? You're going to target all of the 215 people because that includes everybody. So yes, you build custom audiences based on that as well.
Yeah, I'll take Robert's question here. What would be a great ROI for true leads? So I think this is a little bit difficult because it's dependent upon your market, right? If you're in a luxury area, obviously the ROI is much higher off of one transaction than, say, if you were in Houston, where the price range, it might be a little bit lower. But I think some real math that you can kind of use is, for every 100 leads that you generate, if you have a system in place where you're actively following up those leads over an extended amount of time, and we mean being omnipresent with an email, a text message, an occasional phone call, and continuously being in their Facebook stream, you can easily see a 2 to 3 to 5% lead conversion rate. So if you get 100, you can easily see out of that 2 to 5 transactions. Now, those 2 to 5 transactions, just to be absolutely clear, are not necessarily going to happen in that first month, because what we know is that when people enter into the market, they're usually going to take about 10 weeks, which is close to 3 months, before they get into escrow and close a transaction. So what you need to take a look at is you need to be willing to commit to these types of marketing activities for at least a 6-month time span, because you're going to start seeing your ROI 3 and 4 and 5 months out, and then all of a sudden it's really going to start picking up steam on itself. So if we take basically that math, and let's say you generate 1,200 leads over a 1-year period, and that would cost, let's say, what, $400 a month at the most, Travis, basically. So maybe you have a $4,800 investment over the entire year to generate those leads or to get those people to self-identify. And if you constantly follow up and have the systems and the processes in place to have multi-touch campaigns and to be omnipresent with that customer, and your sales skills are really strong, you can figure a 2% closing rate on something like that. So you can probably get anywhere between 80 to 120 transactions. Now, obviously, this is dependent upon your sales skills. So you need to look in the mirror and say, am I a good salesperson? Listen to yourself. Are you really well scripted? And do you have the patience to work these kind of leads? The ROI is going to be massive no matter what, because even if you just, at the basic math, if you got less than 1% conversion on 1,200, you're still going to see 10, 12, 13, 15 transactions a year. And if your price range is, let's say, $300,000, those are $9,000 transactions. That's $80,000 or $90,000, $100,000 in gross GCI for a $5,000 investment. That's a 20x return on your investment. Very, very doable, very, very possible, but it does require that you take the time to either learn these systems and implement these systems, or do the hard work, or implement some kind of automation, or professionals like Travis to build out these campaigns to make sure that they're always happening. And you'll see the ROI on that. All right, so we're about an hour and 10 minutes into this. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Any last kind of closing statements, Travis, do you want to make on this?
Right now, the biggest thing that we're seeing is people are leaving some of the older lead sources. So, the kind of the big three, right?
Okay.
And we talk to people every day that, saying I was spending $35,000 a month. I'm spending $5,000 a month. I'm spending $700 a month. And the cost per lead in those institutions has gone up, right? And there's a lot of competition. And now they're pushing that money directly into Facebook. Facebook is right now, basically one of the hottest places to lead generate.
Right.
And so that's, there's a lot of work that goes into turning over any type of client, but a lot of this work is built, right? Just like painting a house, right? You got to do the prep work, put up the tape and the drop cloth, and then that's 90%, and then the rest of it is doing its thing. With this type of campaign, it's evergreen. What we mean by evergreen is it constantly is going. So if you set it up correctly, this campaign, you spend maybe 2-3 days building it out, it can run over the course of 6 months to a year and produce all these leads and opportunities for you. So you're just going about your day doing what you do best, and leads are coming in. They're being followed up on. They're being retargeted. They're seeing your ads. And then they're going through this psychological process of seeing you everywhere, which creates the frequency illusion, right, of building more engagement and opportunity to really close them. So if anything, take time to invest in yourself and really understand exactly how to operate these systems. Right.
Okay, well, we're going to be wrapping this up. There will be a replay, so we'll be sending you out basically an email. When we end this webinar, we'll basically send you over to a page. You can learn more about Travis's coaching. If you want him to basically do all of this for you, you can learn a little bit more about call action. And again, we appreciate the opportunity. We know that you've taken the time to invest basically your precious time into learning, and hopefully you generated some value out of some of the techniques that we basically shared here. I think that you'll find a lot of value of watching the replay over and over and taking notes and watching those screen shares that Travis was doing to walk you through basically that cycle. Again, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. We're here to help. We're also all over online, so you can find us in all of the big forums and groups and things like that. And we'll go from there. Thank you very much. Again, appreciate the opportunity. Travis, thank you very much for being such a great guest and sharing some major knowledge there. And I think everyone's going to come away with something great. Thank you again. Everyone, really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.